Hello everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, How a Customer Data Platform Achieves Over 800% ROI. We appreciate you taking the time to join us today. My name is Tamar Shor. I'm the Director of Product Strategy at ARM Treasure Data. I'm excited to be joined by Sean Owens, Principal Consultant at Forrester Consulting. Before we get started, a few housekeeping notes. This webinar is being recorded and will be available for replay, and we will send you a link to that via email. We expect this webinar to last about 30 minutes with time for Q&A. If you have any questions, please submit them on BrightTalk as we progress, and we will try to address as many of them towards the end of the session. Before we get into the details about ROI of a CDP deployment, I would like to give a little bit of context about ARM Treasure Data and the CDP itself. So ARM Treasure Data is a company that was founded in 2011 and then acquired by ARM in 2018. ARM is a $2 billion technology company, global, and ARM Treasure Data already has about 400 customers using successfully our customer data platform. With this experience in the 7 years and 8 years of operation, we decided to share some of our insights about the successful CDP deployments by some of our customers, and we joined forces with Forrester to come up with a TEI research so that we can share insights around ROI and how CDP deployments provide value to our customers. For those of you who are a little bit less familiar with the Enterprise Customer Data Platform, a brief overview. Basically, in today's organization, data is probably the single most important differentiator for companies to win or lose in the market. Marketing organizations are faced with increasingly high demands to drive sales, drive growth, increase the efficiency of the marketing campaigns. And what we see in this very exciting market and very high growth market is that all of our customers, what they're trying to do is they're trying to mature into a data-driven marketing organization and leverage their understanding of the customer to drive a better customer experience and in return, improve KPIs across the board, improve the growth rates for new sales, improve sales sizes, improve cross-sell and upsell opportunities, and improve efficiency of the campaigns that they're running. All that through leveraging their customer data, consolidating it, and then using it as they run their different campaigns. So in essence, when you look at an enterprise customer data platform, it serves both the marketing organizations as they leverage data, it serves the data team as they build a foundational customer 360 understanding, and it serves the various stakeholders in the organizations, especially in larger organizations, that are trying to maintain this operation globally with high security standards, privacy standards, performance, and availability. In a nutshell, the different capabilities the CDP provides to our customers starts with collecting vast amounts of data across the silos and across the organizations, millions of touch points where your customers are interacting with your different campaigns, collecting the data and then unifying it to really represent a single customer across all the interactions, analyzing the data, providing analytics and machine learning capabilities to really drive the insights and the predictive insights from your data, and then finally activating it towards your different marketing campaigns. As we gain this experience in the market, we, as I mentioned before, wanted to share the insights of some of our customers into showing how ROI is driven. We then collaborated with Forrester, and we have Sean Owens with us. We collaborated with Forrester, and we're really impressed and very appreciative of the professional work that Forrester did to examine how these successful deployments were done and how an ROI of over 800% was achieved as these deployments rolled out into successful marketing results. So with that, I will hand over to Sean. Thank you, Sean, again for joining us.
Thank you, Tamar. Hi, my name is Sean Owens, and as Tamar said, I'm a Principal Consultant with Forrester Consulting's Total Economic Impact, or TEI, consulting practice. We've recently completed the TEI project for ARM Treasure Data, where we interviewed 4 customers to learn about the improvements that they have enabled since implementing ARM Treasure Data's customer data platform. We learned how broader and more detailed customer data led to improvements in conversion and close rates, larger sales transactions, improved customer retention, and lower advertising and marketing operations costs. sorry, went too far there. This presentation is a summary of the commissioned study, the total economic impact of ARM Treasure Data, cost savings, and business benefits enabled by ARM Treasure Data's Enterprise Customer Data Platform, published October 2019 and available from the ARM Treasure Data website, and also looks like from the links in the margin. I will provide a few highlights from this study today, but encourage you to also take a look at the full study for more details. I will introduce the TEI business case methodology, share results from our study for ARM Treasure Data, and then get into some of the details to help you understand what changes were enabled by customers we interviewed that led to financial benefits, and how you might measure changes in these areas at your own organizations. First, let me give a quick introduction to Forrester Consulting's TEI methodology. We work with companies, often technology vendors, to help define and demonstrate the business value of their solutions and services based on primary data collection. Our methodology is based on traditional cost-benefit or ROI analysis. But we also look at risk and variability factors that could impact costs and benefits, as well as long-term plans to expand implementation and effectiveness that can lead to even greater benefits at lower incremental costs, given the adoption and investment already done. The full process includes research and customer interviews, developing a composite organization model to use for financial analysis examples and illustrations, and then write the study deliverable. For this project, we interviewed 4 companies in the industries of food and beverage, mobile application development, automobiles, and travel. They varied in size from regional to global, and most have collected tens of millions of customer records. The full study has all the details, but there are a variety of shorter versions, including this webinar, as well as a simple ROI calculator to help you start estimating the value of ARM Treasure Data CDP for yourselves. And I'll let you read this slide on your own, but I do again remind everyone that this webinar is an abridged version of the full TEI study, which you can download. Before ARM Treasure Data's customer data platform, organizations did not have systems to help them manage the vast amounts of customer data that was flowing through and maybe or maybe not even being collected during advertising and digital marketing campaigns. Users found it difficult to understand specific customer segments, individuals, or even broad customer groups. With their CDP, a composite organization based on these interviews saw improvements in conversion rate, close rate, sales, retention, and operational campaign cost savings. For our composite organization, the ROI of investing in ARM Treasure Data's CDP is 802%, with a net present value of $12.6 million over 3 years. This is significant. And while your situation is unique, with your own considerations and benefit possibilities, these results should merit more investigation. So let's look at how these benefits were enabled.
So, Sean, this is Tamar. Before we continue, I was wondering, can you maybe explain a little more about how ROI and net present value are calculated? Are these really reasonable results for a technology investment?
Thanks, Tamar. Yeah, it's a great question. So NPV is short for net present value, which means we take a series of cash flow values over time and summarize them in a single number, reflected in today's dollars. And you can't see me, but I'm making air quotes. NPV takes into account the time value of money. A simple definition of this is that a dollar you earn today is worth more to you than a dollar earned a year from now, because you have to wait to get that dollar, and today you could actually invest it and maybe make a little more money. Similarly, a dollar spent today is more costly than a dollar you spend next year, because if you can invest that dollar, then you have the interest that you gain, as well as the dollar maybe that you are supposed to spend, so you still end up a little bit ahead. That way, the NPV equation requires a discount rate, which is a percentage showing how much more that today's dollar is worth than next year's. For Forrester Consulting TEI projects, we use a 10% rate. So net present value, then, is the difference between the present value, or PV, of benefits minus the PV of costs. And I'll summarize that more when we get to the financial results in a few slides. So an NPV of more than $0, meaning benefits are larger than costs, is a positive investment. Any financial decisions on investing in a project with lower or higher NPV is subjective, based on factors such as size of the project, your business, and other strategic or unquantified benefits. And then ROI, or return on investment, is the ratio of net benefits and total costs. For our TEI, the equation is on the top half of the division equation, the PV of benefits minus the PV of costs, all divided by the PV of costs, standard ROI equation. So anything over 0% reflects a positive return on your investment, and higher ROIs indicate a project is likely to be more successful. There is no exact ROI value to decide whether to invest in a project or not. It depends, again, on a variety of factors, including the project scope, your industry, your organization's appetite for risk. But I would think any ROI with 3 digits should have strong consideration. So for this case study, we interviewed organizations that are currently using and have had experience using Arm Treasure Data's customer data platform. As mentioned before, the organizations represented the food and beverage, mobile application development, automobile, and travel industries. Interviewed organizations knew they had the data, but no way to uncover the insights needed to be able to effectively understand the customer's journey, to be able to identify specific preferences, see the signs that might lead to losing a customer, and had no one source for a golden customer record. They needed a solution that could address those issues and opportunities, and with Arm Treasure Data CDP, have better customer information for targeted marketing campaigns as well as individual customer details. They have gained new sales, greater customer value, improved retention, and have reduced costs. Interviewees shared examples of improvements for their organizations. 2 are shown here, and more can be found in the full study. So as I mentioned, we developed a composite organization, which is based on the interview situations and results, and includes some key starting assumptions. We've assumed for this organization a $20 million marketing budget. They have a 90% retention rate. They have an average 1% conversion and 14% close rates before CDP implementation. They have a $400 average transaction size, and they run 4 campaigns per year with a reach of 80 million each. Before Arm Treasure Data CDP, interviewed organizations were using a mix of data analysis solutions, CRM, and custom databases.
So, Sean, this is Tamar again. I'm sure there are some listening that are at companies where the numbers might be greatly different from the composite organization. So how does this apply to them?
Thanks, Tamar. That's a great question. While the financial results may not line up with the impact a CDP may enable for your organization, how the benefits are calculated may still be relevant. For example, the 14% close rate is provided as an example based on the interviewed customers. But if this doesn't sound like you, you can cross it out and write in your own current rate and opportunity for improvement. But you can still follow the lead generation pipeline benefit model as detailed in the study. There's a full table you can take a look at. Or if you don't really focus on those kinds of metrics and maybe a pipeline doesn't apply to you, you can use your own KPIs or key performance indicators as you fill in your business case. I would expect that no matter what you might track along the way, you're probably tracking something at the beginning that looks like a reach or target, and your result is probably sales. So what might happen within there might be a little different than what you see in the study, but hopefully provides an outline to get you started on how that might look for your own organization.
Got it. Thank you, Sean.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so with Arm Treasure Data, interviewed customers reported more sales with improved conversion and close rates, larger transactions with more effective segmentation, improved customer retention, and reduced operating costs. The numbers you see here are 3-year, risk-adjusted, present value totals for the composite organization. Now let's look at some of the specific benefits these interviewed organizations reported. First and foremost, organizations were able to take insights gained from more and better access to meaningful data with Armed Treasure Data CDP. They can identify what advertising and marketing efforts provided better results. And they can deliver more specific, targeted messages to prospects, for example, a craft beer offer to a beer aficionado. The car company was able to more efficiently target ad spend for the most effective channels and time slots, and they were able to specifically target important audiences, such as those that completed a test drive, and saw conversion rates as high as 5% in these groups. The result is more sales. For the Composite organization, we assume the same number of individuals are reached per campaign and have modeled a 1% percentage point increase in conversion rates from 1% to 2%, and a 6 percentage point increase in close rates from 14% to 20%. In the first year, that adds up to more than 83,000 new sales attributable to the adoption of Armed Treasure Data. At an assumed average size of $400 per sale, as I mentioned before, that's more than $30 million in added revenue, or more than $3 million in new sales margin. In addition, learnings from year 1 campaigns drive improvements in years 2 and 3, leading to even greater reach, conversions, sales, revenue, and margin in later years. Second, interviewed organizations saw larger deal sizes. With better targeting and messaging, organizations are able to deliver compelling information to the right customers. These customers then often purchase more in their transaction or choose a higher quality option. For example, the travel company enabled larger sales transactions once it was able to differentiate between men and women and could highlight specific hotel features and amenities that might interest one group more than the other, such as a yoga studio or close distance to public transit. For the Composite organization, improved targeting has led to an average revenue per sale increase of 10% for all new sales enabled by Treasure Data. Next, customers shared how the CDP helped improve customer retention. With better data analysis and ongoing reporting, organizations can be alerted when a customer might show a propensity for leaving to a competitor. The mobile application developer was able to flag customers who hadn't opened a game on their phone in several months as being more at risk for soon deleting the app. A few free game boosters and maybe a link to a new and more interesting game would often keep them involved. For the Composite organization, a 90% retention rate became 92% by the end of the first year, with even more improvement in later years. And another significant benefit, as Tamar mentioned, is reduced campaign operating costs. Interviewed organizations reported lower advertising and marketing campaign costs, as analysis with Armed Treasure Data CDP helps organizations spend ad and marketing dollars more effectively, meaning they could reach the same number of impressions or views more efficiently. Armed Treasure Data CDP includes tools to consolidate duplicate customer records that organizations didn't even know they had from multiple systems, or even within the same system, into a golden customer record. Fewer total records are easier to manage, and avoiding duplicates helps streamline advertising and marketing efforts, and avoids targeting the same customer with multiple offers that can create confusion and might even annoy them so much that they leave for a competitor. For the Composite organization, the ad and marketing budget was $20 million per year before Armed Treasure Data. Since adoption, costs have reduced 7%, leading to risk-adjusted cost savings of $3.5 million over the 3-year analysis period. Or for some organizations, this was invested back into the organization to fund new and larger campaigns.
So, Sean, if I can step in again with a question here. I'm sure a lot of the people listening to us are in organizations where, as they're preparing the business case, they may not know, may not have all the details. For example, they may not know the exact campaign costs. So how do you recommend that they proceed?
Oh, that's a great question. Thank you, Tamar. When preparing your initial business case, it's okay not to have the exact numbers. The actual subtotal of campaign budget that can be impacted by Treasure Data can be wrapped up in so many other costs that it's hard to estimate what that number might be. But if you're able to have a number that you can say, well, at least it's certainly, it's certainly at least that, That approach can help keep things conservative and help you be able to have a number that you can use to develop this initial business case. And a similar approach can be taken with the other marketing and sales metrics. And because, in part because this is an initial business case, and once this initial business case is complete, if you do decide to move forward, you can start to spend more time researching more data to get more exact, and you can iterate multiple times as your investigation might turn to planning and nears an investment decision.
Got it. Thank you, Sean.
Yeah, thank you. And here's two more examples from interviewees highlighting some of the benefits I just covered. There were some additional benefits that you can read about in the full study that were mentioned by customers. These include customer retention that provides value beyond the first year of retained sales. As you probably heard me say, we talked about the customer retention in terms of the value of a transaction or one or two transactions in a year. But really, the lifetime value is more than that. It's more than just the 1 year. It's their lifetime of being a customer with you, or at least that lifetime of a year or two, or hopefully more. That lifetime value was not available from interviewed organizations, but should be considered for your own business case analysis. Also, retention means you don't have to try as hard to replace customers you used to lose. The inverse of retention is churn. If you're churning a lot of customers, you've got to spend a lot more time to replace them, and that can be very expensive. Avoiding that means you have more time to focus on new customers and also supporting the customers you already have. ARM Treasure Data's CDP does require some investment, though for the Composite organization, the 802% ROI and high net present value illustrate how these costs are much smaller relative to the total benefits achieved. Those costs include subscription fees, implementation, planning and migration efforts, ongoing management, and some professional services from Treasure Data or a partner provider. And as I mentioned earlier, TEI's methodology goes beyond traditional cost, benefit, or ROI analysis to highlight longer-term opportunities, as well as provide a layer of risk consideration to all benefits and costs. For flexibility, or what we call longer-term opportunities, or option value, is a way you could call it, customers are looking forward to taking advantage of AI, machine learning, and other features provided by Treasure Data, leveraging customer data platform results into even more granular and customized messaging, and using campaign results not only to improve future campaigns, but to provide feedback into the product development cycle to help drive future product improvements. Risk adjustments have been applied to all benefit and cost estimates based on factors including variance in marketing mixes from organization to organization, possible over or underestimated assumptions, and that customer segments don't always respond as expected. And here we are back at the results. The risk-adjusted 3-year present value totals again are $14.2 million in benefits, present value of $1.6 million in costs. And again, as I mentioned, the difference of that is the net present value of $12.6 million and an ROI of 802%. The full study, again, available for download on ARM Treasure Data's website or in your margin of your presentation screen, includes more details on the benefits and costs that I've described here today, as well as more on the risk and flexibility pillars of the TEI methodology. And there are a number of ways you can learn more about this study. The full study has all the details, as I mentioned, but there are shorter versions, including this webinar, as well as a simple ROI calculator to help start estimating the value of ARM Treasure Data CDP for yourselves. And I know you're probably furiously trying to write these URLs down. Several of these are already in the margin under the attachment and link section, so you can take a look at them. So now, let me bring back Tamar, and we can take some questions.
Thank you, Sean. Thank you for such an amazing overview of the TEI analysis. The vast majority of marketing organizations today are considering and already budgeting for CDP, and I know that the topic of business case and ROI is probably the most important thing on everybody's mind. And so I really invite everybody to download the research, read it, reach out to us if you have questions, and definitely this overview was very spot on, Sean, so I appreciate that. I will switch over to questions. We got quite a few questions during the webinar, so let me just start tackling them one by one. The first one we got, it says, we are a large bank and are currently building a business case for deploying a CDP. Which use cases should provide us with the highest business impact? So I'll go ahead and address this one. Thank you for the question. This is probably the most important step that you can take when you're considering a CDP, is to really outline the use cases, starting with the business use cases of what are you trying to solve with a CDP. So for example, business use cases could be for a company such as a bank, could be we are trying to increase new sales, and specifically we're trying to grow mortgage close rates, right? Or it could be a use case of we're trying to drive cross-sell between our units, so we're trying to drive higher adoption of a new credit card that's coming out. It could be about efficiency of ad spend and reducing ad spend or increasing the return on ad spend, for example, by leveraging lifetime value as an optimization factor for campaigns. So this step of identifying your business use cases is critical. And once that's done, then to take it forward and say, okay, which KPIs are we using for these different use cases? For example, if we're trying to increase mortgage loan close rates, then should we do a better targeting and increase the KPIs with better targeting? Should we focus on personalizing the customer experience so we can drive better conversion rates throughout the customer experience? Very important to define which KPIs are going to be used and then link it back to how your data and better data can help you solve that problem and help you improve those KPIs. So definitely important question. I would say look at the top business cases, look at increasing sales, cross-sales, efficiency, return on ad spend. This is usually the best place to start, and we'll be happy, obviously, if you want to take this conversation forward, we'll be happy to come in and explore this together with you. This was the first question. I'm going to the second question here from the audience. How many of your current clients are retail, brick and mortar, and e-commerce? So I'll take that one. Many of our clients obviously are coming from retail, and I would say almost all of them display this combination of brick and mortar and e-commerce. I struggle in my mind to find a retail customer that doesn't demonstrate both brick and mortar and e-commerce. There are some that are purely e-commerce. I will say, I'm looking at retail customers across food, cosmetics. Banks are also retail customers to some extent with brick and mortar presence. Automotive, obviously. So across the different industries, we see this combination of brick and mortar and e-commerce. And my advice when you look at the CDP and begin to explore the option of bringing in a CDP and again, going back to looking at ROI and business use case, many of the use cases we see in such situations include the combination of online and offline data. So how do you really leverage your understanding of the customer across your e-commerce and web presence and your brick and mortar presence? And sometimes that brick and mortar presence or that online presence is not necessarily yours. It could be a second party partner. It could be coming from third party situations. And so how do you really leverage online and offline data combined to get a better understanding of the customers and leverage that to drive a better customer experience? Usually these use cases, that's where they start. And then some of them will be very focused around customer experience personalization, whether online purely or across online and offline. Some of the use cases we see show a combination of how you take data from online and then give it to your brick and mortar location with some predictive elements around it so that you can focus your attention on highest predictive scoring prospects. We see a lot of use cases around loyalty and driving on and offline loyalty across the different channels, omni-channel experiences. So many different use cases, but definitely to the question, we see a lot of that at our customer base. And somebody, the comment, I think the same question and answer, fashion, absolutely. Very exciting customers, recently closed globally with some of the top brands that we all recognize and know and love. So definitely fashion retail. I urge whoever asked that question to reach out so we can have a further discussion around that. There's another question that came up here, Sean. Maybe I'll address it to you. The question is, the composite organization involves some large data sets. How will implementation differ with smaller companies or different verticals? Can you maybe address that, Sean?
Yeah, thanks, Tamar. I just cleared up. I hope you can hear me okay, because I was getting a lot of choppy audio there for a second, but hopefully you can hear me fine. Just let me know. But that's a great question.
We can hear you very well. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you. And I think this is similar to the question earlier about leveraging study learnings, even if you don't seem to be very similar to our Composite organization. Perhaps you're much smaller, larger, work in a different industry, or perhaps your lead generation and customer relationship processes line up differently. Maybe you're any business brokering connections between buyers and sellers. So you're not necessarily selling a product or generating your own leads. So things can be a little different. So while you might not focus as much on the metrics highlighted in this study, you can use your KPIs, key performance indicators, to fill in your own business case. Whatever those business and process metrics are that lead to revenue and profit. So maybe your pipeline doesn't start with reach or targets, but your result may be some sort of sale or subscription revenue. Identifying what that looks like today and where there might be room for improvement is a good way to start toward developing your own business case analysis.
Thank you, Sean. Appreciate that. Moving forward, there's so many questions. I'll take the next one. Question from the audience: how do we calculate ROI for a very large-scale deployment, which would probably, I assume, span global and business units? I'll take that. Obviously, we're in a position today with arm-treasure data. We have a lot of experience, probably the leading vendor today, to deal with very large, complex, high-scale environments. Many of our customers are global. They leverage our multiple data centers. They span across business units, brands, products, geos, internal teams, external teams at agencies. So, we have a lot of experience with these large-scale deployments and with working with our customers to determine business use cases and ROI. What I will say is that, for the question, you're right, it is a little more complex on paper to create an ROI analysis for a large-scale deployment, because by the nature of it, you are looking at different locations, different business units, staged rollouts. You start somewhere and then you gradually grow, so there's a timing element. But I will say on the flip side that being a global deployment actually kind of unleashes other benefits that are not necessarily there from a local deployment. So what I would urge you to do is, in addition to looking at the individual countries or business units or brands and doing their own individual ROI analysis and mapping business benefits and all, look at the business benefits that you're getting across these. So a couple of examples would be, if you're looking at analytics and machine learning, how you leverage the data. If you're trying to improve customer experience, your machine learning models, your analytics models will be much better if you leverage data that you've learned across these different business units or geos and then apply it to the other business units and geos. A lot of our customers are gradually ramping up CDPs and then continuously learning from one deployment to the other how they can improve. I would say another example of very obvious business impact that should be included in larger scale deployments is how you can use the CDP to cross-sell and upsell across your business units. We have very large customers, both in retail and in gaming and in other industries, where a big reason for the CDP was to really leverage and combine data sets between business units so that you can identify opportunities to cross-sell and upsell, and really leverage the fact that you are a large-scale, multi-business unit, multi-country organization. Take advantage of your data and make more of your marketing efforts. So again, I agree, a little more complex, but then a lot of other benefits. I think I'll take just one more question because we're quickly running out of time. The last question I'll address here is, it says benefits of software solutions typically build up over time as the solution gets gradually deployed. How can we ensure positive ROI in early deployment stages? Very, very good question. Very often, we partner with our customers to make sure that as they deploy, the ROI gets exhibited as early as possible and not wait until that eventual benefit. So CDPs are actually exhibiting exponential business benefit because if you think about it, it's a rinse and repeat situation. You take the data that you have, you use it to improve your marketing, and then you accumulate more data and repeat the process, and so it's exponential value. That said, the ROI should be exhibited early on. So the two tips that I would give you, first of all, keep pushing your deployment further with clear and valuable use cases. So for example, we have technical account managers at our customers that actually focus a lot on identifying business use cases now and into the future and keep pushing the value of ROI. And the second tip that I will give you is really ensure the control over the costs. So SaaS solutions should not require an army of people and should allow you with flexible commercial and deployment options to grow with your value so that you can really gain that ROI early on. And I'm seeing, okay, and Sean, I think for this question, just because of the really, can you maybe chime in with some of your experience to add some thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's a great insight because, I just wanted to address the fact that you probably noticed that wasn't addressed in this study. And typically for our TEI projects, kind of because of the level of message we're trying to provide without getting into too much detail and getting too much into the weeds, we do sometimes assume those away. And yes, some of these organizations, did have some ramp up, did need some ramp up time, maybe a little additional training, started on a few campaigns and grew over time. We did go ahead and make the assumption of a reasonable campaign load from day one to avoid the confusion of, because what it does is it creates confusion of, well, is that business growth or is it ramp up growth? Is it growth from something else? And then we have to explain all that as well, and it ends up getting into taking a lot more time in the study and really not adding that much value to it. So, but obviously for your own business case, you should be considering all those topics that Tamar mentioned. That yes, there may be some ramp up time that you need to address. There's also great tactics, like she mentioned, to be able to avoid or minimize that and be able to gain value as quickly as possible. So thanks, Tamar. Thanks for letting me jump in on that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, we're a little over time, so I think we'll wrap up now. And I want to thank the audience for very, very good, very to-the-point questions. I hope we addressed them well. I want to thank Sean and Forrester for providing us with this highly professional research note. I do encourage everybody to download and read it. I think it will help you a lot with the business case you're trying to build and with some thoughts on how to really construct the impact, the cost, and in general, the business case that you're trying to deliver for the CDP. I'll just hand over to Sean for some closing remarks, but thank you everybody for listening today. Sean?
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you as well, Tamar. Thanks for giving me the chance to talk to everybody today. Thank you all for your time, and hope this was helpful and really appreciate the chance to share this with you. Thank you so much.
All right, and we're going to wrap up now. Thank you, everybody. Have a great rest of the day.